I think I'm gonna go nuts. I didn't turn on the mic because I don't know why. Fuck it. Let's do this all over again. In today's news update, we have our favorite Luigi. Luigi's lawyers urge a judge to dismiss his state murder charges if you've been living in a forest in Oregon for years, where the forest department is currently clearing an encampment of people. More on that soon. Luigi Mangione shot dead the CEO of United Healthcare, Brian Thompson, in the middle of Manhattan early in the morning. Defend, deny, depose was written on the 3 lethal bullets. Everything we have on the case is alleged because there is no verdict and it can take a while before we have it. Luigi was apprehended in a McDonald's with a 3D printed 9mm pistol, a manifesto, and Monopoly money. Yes, Monopoly money. He was apprehended in December last year. The state hearing, where the motion to dismiss the case will be presented before Judge Gregory Caro, is set to June 26th. Among the shit show, we have New York City Mayor Adams, who is facing his own bribery allegations. And that is a shit show within a shit show all on its own, because for instance, the DOJ pressured prosecution to drop the charges against Adams, where Adams allegedly waived a fire inspection, for example, of a new building for the Turkish embassy, accepting luxurious trips paid by Turkey with full inclusive hotel spots, and this is just among others. Mayor Adams wanted desperately to be seen in the general vicinity of the whole Luigi thing. Luigi was not had his Miranda rights read to him upon apprehension, and motions going so far as the death penalty from prosecution have been issued. We don't have time to get into all of the details, but suffice to say, we all get the gross injustice of the whole thing. One CEO gets killed, and it's the death penalty. When pastors sexually assault children, they get bail. Children dying in mass shootings prompt Republicans to promote having more guns, including teachers having a sidearm at all times or bulletproof backpacks for children. Talk about a dystopian reality. To add insult to injury, Brian Thompson signed off on using AI trained to deny coverage of people insured in United Healthcare, all in the name of profit. That's what happens when the people running companies see only numbers and revenue, not giving a single fuck about how many people die in the process. Because of the use of AI practically designed to hurt and kill people. And that's what it is. Luigi's defense wants to prevent the contents of his backpack to be included as evidence because it was seized and searched before hearing his Miranda rights. The state case, as I've said, is scheduled for June 26th, and the federal case is set to take place in December 2025, so later this year. Moving on, let's just shortly, because there's just no point in digging into a cesspool that Trump gave a commencement speech at the University of Alabama, where he went off script as usual and kept on talking for an hour, spewing misinformation that the 2020 election was rigged, that his first term was brilliant and now it's even brillianter, that he wants to protect women in sports by banning transgender women from sports. And let's just say this on the topic: among the 510,000 NCAA approved and competing athletes, less than 10 identify as transgender. Researcher Joanna Harper estimates there are less than 100 trans women competing in NCAA nationwide at the K-12 level. The numbers are even smaller, and for example in Ohio, 11 women have been approved to compete in sports since 2015. And yet, he continues to spew his toxic and damaging rhetoric that impacts the entirety of the transgender community, not only in sports. Especially that he signed an executive order erasing trans people on day 1 of his second term. Well, the phrasing was so dumb that, one, it made the whole thing void, because it defined men as producing big reproductive cells at conception and women produce small reproductive cells at conception. The author, Stephen Miller, a member of the Heritage Foundation and co-author of Project 2025, needs to go back to school and relearn basic biology, because at conception there is just a bunch of cells that aren't even a fetus. So there can be no talk about reproductive cells whatsoever. So yes, there are two sexes and we are all neither of them. Next topic. Associated Press found out that there are plans to make a huge army parade on June 14th, Trump's birthday and 250th birthday of the US Army. 6,600 soldiers, tanks, 50 helicopters, as wide as Arlington to Washington DC. That makes you think of parades in Moscow or in North Korea. So far there are no approvals, no cost estimates. We'll see if they pull it off. And me living in Poland, where Poland was a satellite state to the Soviet Union. We weren't part of the USSR, but we were a satellite state along with East Germany, which also was part of this block of countries. I was born before 1989, when martial law was declared, supposedly to prevent Russia fully military invading Poland. Well, okay, I'll bore you another time with the history of Poland, because it kind of gets really interesting how the whole transformation and getting out of the Soviet bloc, not the Soviet Union, but the Soviet bloc, how it all transpired. But I was born in 86, so in the year that the catastrophe of Chernobyl happened, I was already 4 months old when Chernobyl happened. And my parents also remember trying to prevent me from having any kinds of complications related to the explosion and radioactive fallout that has reached Poland. And it's like, okay, from here to here, there's probably a map somewhere here appearing right now. My parents remember on May Day huge military parades in Warsaw, in the capital of Poland, going through Warsaw with obligatory attendance of citizens. Everything was staged. When you have children spontaneously running up to the first secretary to present him with flowers or whatever, or just to hug him. Yeah, Russia was our overlord at that point. Military parades were a thing, and not longer ago than my parents, and 45 years ago, this was still a thing in Poland, and it marked the Russian victory, marked Russian dictatorship over Poland, and it was to show power, but it was also meant to keep people in line, to remind them who the real power is in this dynamic. So this is for me, living in Poland and having this experience and seeing what is happening currently in the United States. I don't think you can have it against me that I am reacting the way I am, because it hits really, really close to home. But going back to Oregon, over 100 homeless people were expelled from the Deshutes National Forest in Oregon. If I have butchered that name, I am so sorry. The homeless encampment needed to be cleared due to high forest fire risk, according to a plan authorized in 2023. It focuses on managing vegetation, controlled burns, crews operating heavy machinery, and all that amidst the National Forest Service reductions and budget cuts. Climate change has caused the region to be hotter and drier, elevating the forest fire risk associated with it. This also coincides with a directive to government agencies to increase timber production. Coincidence, of course. The project was just that, a project for years, and now just 2 months into Trump's second term, the project was a go. The administration removed environmental safeguards on half the national forests, saying it's risk mitigation. Judge Michael McShane denied a restraining order to block the removal of the encampment, as the people living there were being notified about the coming works in January. Advocates for the homeless represented them and filed for a restraining order, but as we can see, to no avail. The encampment increased in size during COVID as people lost jobs and couldn't afford housing in the crisis with growing costs. Many of those people are disabled. Where are they being moved? Or if there are any plans apart from removing them? I unfortunately couldn't find this information. That's all I have for you today, this week. It's been a while since I made a new segment, but personal life isn't exactly a fairy tale at the moment. Even this I had to script, not to break down or start excessively fidgeting because I'm stimming, because I'm so stressed out and need to take higher doses of my meds to keep me level. Yeah, it's not exactly a fairy tale. Okay, suffice to say that I lost my job, my washing machine died during washing, the engine practically caught fire during mid-wash, so yeah, my life is a meme now. Despite sending multiple applications, I have no prospects for now, and I'm fighting off burnout with reoccurring depressive episodes. So give this video a like, subscribe if you haven't. I'm doing my best to give you content worth your time. I'm working also on a video about RFK Jr. and Gabor Mate and a deep dive into addiction. So there are things to look out for. If you don't want to miss out on them, subscribe. I have a proposition for you. It occurred to me that there are many problems in the world, but it is especially important for us all together to build communities, because if we all band together, we can actually change things. Let's address the bigger picture here. Instead of fighting left and right, let's fight up and down, because there are fewer CEOs, fewer billionaires, fewer politicians than the people they govern, and it is the government that should be afraid of the people and not the other way round. So remember that. Thank you. Cheers.